Hey, how's it going guys? It's Nate here. And upon Skyrim's release nearly 8 years ago, the game was already among the biggest of its time. But thanks to a number of DLCs and expansions that would become available over the following months and year, the Elder Scrolls V somehow got even larger. The first of Skyrim's major DLCs was called Dawnguard, and it centered around a clan of vampires' efforts to permanently blot out the sun, and a faction of vampire hunters who sought to stop them. Ultimately, the Dragonborn would get to pick a side and determine whether man or undead would prevail. However, not unlike Skyrim itself, Dawnguard came loaded with a plethora of hidden away tiny details and Easter eggs for the most curious and dedicated Dovahkiin to discover, many of which may still remain unknown to some players even all this time later. So today we'll be taking a look at 5 more hidden Dawnguard DLC secrets you may have missed in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Starting off, if the player decides to go against the vampires and join up with the Dawnguard, early in their questline, Isran, the faction's leader, will send the player to locate a Breton woman named Soren Girard, who's living on her own in the Reach. Apparently, she's an expert on Dwemer technology, and has quite the mind. Isran and her used to do business, but separated on poor terms. You're tasked with locating her and convincing Soren to come back to the Dawnguard, which you'll succeed in doing, and for the remainder of the game, she'll stay at their headquarters. But that surname, Girard, may sound a bit familiar. That's because we've actually encountered it in a previous Elder Scrolls game. Back in Oblivion, we would get to know a Breton battle mage, named Ariel Girard, as a part of the Mages Guild. She wasn't an incredibly significant NPC, but oddly enough, in the Elder Scrolls 4's final DLC add-on, or mini DLC, Fighter's Stronghold, which was really just a player home, there would be a hostile spirit inside, also called Ariel Girard. I guess the two people just share the exact same name. According to notes, before she died, the ghost was a follower of Mana Marco, an extremely powerful necromancer, and was a feared mage in her own right. She was serving a local lord who wanted to take power in a coup. Long story short, it didn't work out very well, and the two ended up trapped in the castle, where they were both left to starve. But Ariel's spirit lived on. So, this Soren fellow we get to know in Skyrim has quite the fascinating family history. Next on our list, one of the most expansive new environments the Dawnguard DLC sends us to is the Soul Cairn. The Plane of Oblivion, where the souls of those folks who have been unfortunate enough to have found themselves soul-trapped will be doomed to spend all of eternity. Here we can meet a number of unlucky spirits. But notably, one of these trapped souls will belong to that of a dark elf, named Jib. Jib, when spoken to, will reveal that he was a hero back when the man still walked the earth, or Nirn. Apparently Jib was responsible for driving a species of particularly annoying flying creatures from Morrowind, called Cliff Racers, to extinction. If you've played the Elder Scrolls 3, chances are you dealt with those winged beasts quite a bit. But evidently since then, this Jib guy took care of them.
After I was freed from prison, I decided to turn my life around, give something back to the people of Morrowind. It became quickly apparent that the best way I could help would be by wiping out the Cliff Racers.
He claims that this feat earned him the love and respect of everyone back in Morrowind, and he was declared a saint even. Afterwards, our fearless friend moved to the city of Kvatch in Cyrodiil, where he planned to write a biography about himself. Sadly, however, shortly after his move, the city of Kvatch was attacked by Daedra and Dremora, and Jib must have been soul-trapped in the ensuing battle. He doesn't know for sure what happened, but it seems obvious the man fell victim to the Oblivion Crisis, which the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion revolves around. Jib will ask that the player help him find various pages of his book, that he's still persistently working on in the Soul Cairn, as they got lost when he entered. This begins the quest, Impatience of a Saint. Now this ghostly Dunmer is certainly an interesting character, but the neat thing is that we've actually met him before. Jib, believe it or not, was quite literally the first character we would see in the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. The game began with the Neravine on a prison ship, and next to you was Jib, a fellow prisoner, whom would ask your name, prompting you to begin what would become your character. We didn't see him again, but apparently Jib must have turned his life around afterward. Furthermore, in the Elder Scrolls 4, within the city of Kvatch, after the Dremora attack, inside a home, the player could find the head of a Dark Elf, bearing some striking resemblances to Jib's own, suggesting this fellow has appeared in every Elder Scrolls game since Morrowind. It's pretty cool. Coming in at number 3, if you side with the Dawnguard faction over the Volkihar vampires, over the course of their questline, you'll gain access to a number of otherwise not meetable merchants within the guild, one of those being Soren Girard, who may sell the Dragonborn a variety of especially unique items. Some of these include particularly useful spell tomes and ammunition that you'll completely miss out on if you don't decide to go with the vampire hunters. Or at least, you would think that. You see, if the player did end up joining with the vampires, eventually towards the end of their storyline, you and a handful of them will storm the Dawnguard's headquarters, and murder pretty much all of its members to death. But if during this battle you employ the use of a calm or harmony spell that's powerful enough to cause all these NPCs nearby to briefly become non-hostile, you'll actually be able to barter with all those merchants you weren't supposed to have access to as a vampire. This way, the Dovahkiin may obtain all those spells, ammunition types, and even an armored troll, all the while being on bad terms with the Dawnguard. In fairness, I'm not confident Bethesda allowed this to happen on purpose, as the reverse isn't possible. If you do become a Dawnguard member, when you guys storm the vampire castle, harmony and calm spells won't be enough to get the bloodsuckers to start trading with you. So I'm not really sure what to think. For 4th spot, we set our sights back on the Soul Cairn again. Here upon first entering the place, an unnamed spirit may approach you. The ghostly man will state that he was trapped here with his horse, Arvak, some time ago, after the pair were ambushed in Nirn. Since their arrival, Arvak has been running in a panic around the realm non-stop, and the poor spirit can't seem to calm him down. He begs for your help before disappearing. At this point, you'll be given the miscellaneous quest objective to, quote, find Arvak's skull. But you're not really given a quest marker, you just sort of have to look for it. As you're exploring, every now and again it's possible to spot Arvak running wildly. But catching up to him is rather difficult, and frankly doesn't do anything. Instead, the horse's skull can be located in an odd mound on the northeastern edge of the realm. Pick it up, defeat the foes nearby, and that ghostly man will appear again, this time to thank you. Apparently your actions have freed Arvak, and will teach you a special spell that allows the caster to summon Arvak as a mount at pretty much any point in the game, essentially affording you a horse on demand, no matter where you're at. This spell also works in normal Tamriel too. Well, Skyrim's Arvak indeed seems to actually be based off of a horse from Norse mythology, wherein Arvakr was, or maybe is, I don't know, maybe you still pray to these gods, the name of one of the two horses that pulled the chariot that the sun rode in, with the other being called Ausvior. The two were even sometimes depicted as skeletons. Perhaps the heat burned their flesh or something. Additionally, on an unrelated note, Arvak can also be summoned within the dwarven ruins of Blackreach, to be a pretty efficient mechanism of transportation. Again, this tidbit is pretty unrelated, but hey, the more you know. And finally, last on our list, while the core of the Dawnguard expansion's experience revolved around man versus undead, it also introduced a new side quest called Lost to the Ages, entirely unrelated to the whole debacle, that instead focused on Dwemer ruins. The mission would begin when the Dragonborn entered the dwarven ruins of Arkithams in the Reach, which was also a newly added location. Inside, shortly upon your arrival, the way you entered would cave in on the player, and you'd be approached by a ghostly woman, named Katria. She will explain that this place is extremely dangerous, and you should have just turned back when you had the chance. Apparently back when she was, well, not dead, Katria was a researcher studying the Dwemer. She created an elaborate theory about their relationship to a resource called Ethereum. Her proposition was game-changing, but before she could publish it, an apprentice of hers stole her work and took the credit for himself. Poor betrayed Katria then set off to explore dwarven ruins in hopes of finding evidence that would confirm her theory, and perhaps prove her work was stolen. Alas, she just didn't get very far, and passed away after a fall inside this ruin in particular. The spirit will request your help by locating a series of Ethereum shards spread across multiple Dwemer dungeons, including this one. The ghost promises to stand alongside you, and thus the quest begins in earnest, as you and Katria's ghostly phantom fight your way through a myriad of various dwarven locations, and ultimately do indeed prove her theories when you locate a legendary Ethereum forge, which allows Katria to finally go to rest, and completes the quest. While Katria's entire character seems to be inspired by and based on a similar spirit that we would meet in the first Elder Scrolls game. In the Elder Scrolls Arena, the Eternal Champion, i.e. the player, would be led by the ghost of a woman named Rhea Silmaine, that directed you to recover shards not of Ethereum, but of an item called the Staff of Chaos. Once the Staff of Chaos's shards had been recovered, then Rhea Silmaine, much like Katria, would finally let herself go to rest. At least it seems Katria was based on Rhea. Either that, or this is just bad overlapping writing. You be the judge. But with that, we are going to wrap up. 5 more Dawnguard DLC secrets you may have missed in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. Which of the hidden details that we went over today did you find to be the coolest or most fascinating? And what secrets in Skyrim do you know of that I've yet to cover? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everyone.